Hello everybody, welcome to Buxton Wellbeing. My name is Tim and thank you everybody for being here with me for video number 4 of my therapy diary, where I am discussing everything to do with my cognitive behavioural therapy that I have been going through just recently, in the hopes that it might help some people out there to, consider going to therapy yourselves. If you are scared of doing it, it gives you that little bit of a nudge as that, okay, I'm not going into the complete unknown. There's other people out there that have been through this and it's absolutely fine to be doing it. So this is my way of trying to help where I can. So we're going into appointment number 4 today. I've done all of my assessments and we are now past the halfway point of the 6 appointments that I'm going to be having for CBT, unless I am deemed to require additional help later on. But honestly, I think that the way the things are going, I don't think that I'm going to be needing that additional help. I don't think I'm going to be needing that further higher intensity CBT, which is an additional 6 weeks worth. I think I'm going to be able to finish at that 6 appointment mark, so I'm over halfway through my CBT. And if you didn't watch the last video, a lot of what we were talking about was like behavioral activation and basically giving yourself activities that you can do in behaviors that you can do which are in a positive light rather than in a negative light. So you're not wrapping yourself up in bed and just sleeping the day away. You are actively getting up and attempting to do activities and things like that. And we were working on some of the activities that I want to bring back into my life that have kind of fallen by the wayside because I've not been putting that effort in. Essentially, I've not been, whether you call it capable of putting that effort in, or whether my motivation has not been there to put that effort in, whatever you want to call it, I've not been doing them. So I wanted to basically talk about these things with you today, talk about the entirety of the appointment and go through what I did for appointment number 4 of 6. So at the start of the appointment this week, I had the usual questions asked of me. So I had to do my PHQ-9, I had to do my GAD-7, I had to have her ask me whether I'm at risk of hurting myself or others, or whether I'm at risk of suicide or anything like that. I had to go through all of these questions before we could properly get started. This is at the start of every appointment. It is just so that she can't see me. She's at the other end of the phone. She can't see what I'm like. She's not with me constantly. She gets 30 minutes in order to be able to work with me. And then, so she doesn't know me. She doesn't know whether I am safe. She doesn't know, because it can easily swing into not being safe. So don't worry, don't feel like those questions are too invasive or anything like that. They're not. They're just so that she knows that she can help, or whether she needs to do anything additional to help you out. And then there was my homework. So I talked through my homework in the last appointment. So we were on about activities that I wanted to bring back into my life and going through the hierarchy of activities. So is an activity easy to bring back, a little bit harder, or very difficult to bring back into my life? Some of the things I've already started doing, so for example, running, playing video games, a little bit of reading. I'd like to do some more, but running, playing video games, YouTube, I brought that back into my life as well. So these are things which they're currently sitting on the easiest, maybe bordering onto the harder category with YouTube videos, because sometimes I find that the motivation struggles to do YouTube videos. But yeah, in general, these are ones that I've already started doing and I'd like to continue doing, maybe pick up the amount that I am doing, so I'm doing less just lounging around in silence or with depressing music on, or with not watching YouTube. So yeah, there was that. My homework was to find activities and label them into easiest, sort of medium and hardest of the activities, how difficult it is for me to right now for me to do them. So I had a list of different things that I wanted to do potentially. So on that list, on the easiest category was things like running and things like reading, things like video games. I think maybe reading was actually in the harder category because it requires a little bit more concentration than video games do, because I tend to play a lot of games that I'm familiar with as well, so like I don't necessarily need the concentration for them. Whereas reading, if I'm reading a new book, I need to concentrate on it, so it's a little bit more taxing to be able to do that. And yeah, I put those into like the easiest category. There's some other things kind of around the house maybe, which are a little bit easier perhaps. But yeah, in general, it was those sorts of pleasurable activities that kind of went in the easiest column. And then harder column was more like housework and stuff like that, and I think like YouTube videos was in the harder category. I think yeah, washing up, tidying, cleaning, all of that was in the kind of harder categories. The easier categories as well, looking after myself, I'm not too bad at doing that as well. I tend to find that there's other motivations behind that. I don't like going out of the house having not had a bath or a shower, so it's a other motivating factor for me to make sure that I'm staying on top of that sort of stuff. But yeah, the harder category, washing up, cleaning, tidying, all of these things, I find them difficult. There's other things as well, like if there's no pleasure behind it, then I really struggle to do it. So I need to make sure that I am doing those though, because you need to have that balance, that three-legged stool analogy that I went through in the previous videos. Three-legged stool, you've got to have an equal balance of pleasurable activities with routine activities and necessary activities. So yeah, the harder ones, and then some of it was like I put some specific stuff on there as well. So socializing in my own home went in a harder category, because I can do that. I have to plan it out quite far in advance. You spring something on me and I'm like, I don't like this, it overwhelms me. But if I plan it out, I can do this, and small groups of people in and around my house is fine. I find it a little bit harder to go over to a friend's house or something like that. I find it a little bit harder to do these things spur of the moment, particularly going over to a friend's house or anything like that. And I find it a little bit harder, even harder than that, to socialise in public. So in a gym, I mean, yeah, but in a pub, in a cafe or anything like that, I find that very difficult. So I get invites for going out for breakfast and I make excuses not to go, and I get invites to go to the pub and I make excuses. I got an invite for going to the pub last night and I made an excuse not to. I didn't even make an excuse, I just said I got something on. So I didn't even give a reason. But yeah, it's one of them where it's like, these things make me feel guilty. So that kind of goes, the socializing in public goes in the hardest column, I think, and then the others kind of go into the easier to medium column kind of thing. And then the hardest column, I put in a lot of stuff where it was socializing a lot. So I'm finding going to the gym hard at the moment. I'm finding I used to go to a lot of gigs, local gigs, also going to watch other bands, like some of my favourite bands. And some of the reasons that I don't go to those anymore is money, and some of it is that I've got a bad back and standing there for hours is painful. But a lot of it as well is there's a lot of people and it's very noisy, and I don't like it. I don't like that noise. I don't like that close environment anymore. And I used to play in a rock band. I used to play in bands and be up on that stage and be not the center of attention, because I wasn't the singer or guitarist. So, you know, I was the bassist. So like on the fringe of being the center of attention. So like, yeah, it's like, I'd like to get that back, because there's a couple of my friends' bands, I've never seen them yet. And there's a couple of other friends' bands. I've not seen them since I gave up music myself 3-4 years ago. So yeah, I need to get that back in my life at some point, even if it is just going to the odd show here and there. The last gig that I went to was nearly a year ago now, so I definitely need to do that. And whether it is dragging a friend out with me and just going to a gig, finding one of my friends' local bands, I'm going to shout a couple of them out: Wolves in Alcatraz and Fatal Caress. They're like my friends' bands that I've not seen in a long time. Jesse's Divide is another one. I'll shout them out, why not? So yeah, these are things that I want to go and see, I want to go and do, and it's just really difficult. Another one for that is decorating. I've got parts of my house that really need decorating, that need some work doing to it. It's hard work, and it's so difficult to get that motivation for hard work, because there's no, I guess there is a reward for doing it at the end of it. Your house looks better and maybe your market value goes up or whatever, but it's so difficult, it really is. And yeah, so those are the things that we discussed. I discussed all of those things that I wanted to do with the therapist, and I slotted them into those easier, harder and hardest tasks throughout the week. And then we specifically went into a couple of those tasks. And my homework this week is to pick some of those activities that are in that harder column. So I'm not going right into the hardest column straight away. She's not making me just suddenly go for the big ones. One of the ones that are slightly harder. So she's asked me to pick 2 that are slightly harder and then 2 that are easiest, and break them down a little bit so that I can do little bits to them. I don't actually this week, like, my homework is not actually to do them this week. My homework is to think about which ones I want to do ready for next week, so I can start planning ahead for next week. And that's really helpful for me. It's not just a sudden, she says I must do 3 activities this week and I'm only doing 1 activity and I'm not feeling good about it because I've had no time to plan it out and I've been so busy and everything. No, I've got time to plan it out. I've got time to plan, right, on this day I'm going to do some decorating because I need to do it. And, break it down. So what am I going to do? How am I going to break it down? And this is the homework task that I've been thinking about this week, is how do I break down these activities into much smaller chunks? So decorating. The main thing for decorating at the moment is that I need to be stripping wallpaper off the wall and then start wallpapering. And it's horrible stuff that the previous owners have put up on the wall. It really is. It's absolutely terrible stuff for trying to get it off the wall. So it's taking quite a bit of time, and I've got a bad back, so I can only do small amounts anyway. So we break it down, so I'm not spending 2 hours doing a decorating task. One day I am going and clearing the area that I want to do. Then the next day I go and do a little bit of stripping down of the wallpaper. Then the next day I do a little bit more stripping down of the wallpaper. Then maybe I need to move on to a next section of the wall so I can go and tidy a new area and then start the process all over again. So it's kind of like breaking it down. And we talked through specifically like that task. How can we break it down into easier chunks so that it makes it easier to do later on? And yeah, trying to think of it in that respect of really breaking it down to basics rather than just saying decorating is a task. Today I'm going to tidy this part of the room, this small corner of the room, and then 2 days later I'm going to decorate. I'm going to strip the wallpaper off this part of the room. Then I'm going to tidy that part of the room, and I'm going to strip the wallpaper off that part, and it just breaks it down that little bit, so you're not doing everything all in one. Because if you just say decorating, that becomes a big activity of tidying it all up, preparing everything, and then doing the actual decorating part, and then tidying up and chucking everything away. So it could be like, even then, like tidying up after you've done is an activity for another day. So one day is tidying up, getting ready for it. One day is doing the stripping of the wallpaper. And then another day, you go in with a bin bag and you put that wallpaper that you've taken off the wall into the bin bag, ready to be slung away. That last one's only like a 5-minute activity. So it's nice and easy to be able to do. So it's like breaking it down so it doesn't overwhelm me. And I think overwhelming is one of the key words for me, is that things overwhelm me very easily. And that is a key thing for me, is don't get overwhelmed by these things. Do it in small bite-sized chunks. And other household tasks you can do like that. They don't necessarily take massive amounts of time. So, if you've got the hoovering, can you hoover one room, and then the next day hoover another room, and then the next day hoover another room? Next thing you know, you're hoovering every day for small amounts of time, and then by the end of the week, you go back and you hoover the first room again, or when it, pick a room that needs doing, whichever one you live in the most, you probably need to hoover more. So how can you break these activities down into smaller bite-sized chunks? So I chose the decorating. I also chose YouTube, because this is another one where there's stages to doing these. So there's planning the video out, there's then actually recording the video, then there's editing the video and uploading the video. So there's 4 different distinct stages that you can separate it out into today. So like today, I've done all of my planning for my videos that I'm doing today. Like my decks are ready for recording on my TCG channel. So all of that planning was done last night. I did all of that last night after I watched the wrestling. I watched the Crown Jewel wrestling last night. And then today is the recording aspect. Record these videos, record the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG videos. And then tomorrow is editing them and doing a little bit of editing. And the editing part probably take 2 or 3 days, because I'm recording multiple videos. So, and then, breaking down your easiest activities. So I plan out my runs in advance, and I plan out, do I need to do a smaller run on this day? Do I need to do a longer run on this day, and stuff like that. So yeah, it's like, where can you plan it a little bit more to make it that little bit more bite-sized? And something like running, you could do a couch to 5k, rather than just saying I need to run 5k. Do a couch to 5k week. I'm going to do a couple of 8-minute runs today, or something like that, and just break it down in that way. So yeah, that's my homework, and that is pretty much the entire appointment that we went through. Is all of that. And my other part of my homework as well is I'm supposed to be keeping a thought diary. So whenever those intrusive negative thoughts that come in, I'm supposed to be writing them down. And I've got to admit, it's been a few days since this appointment, and I've been bad at doing it. But looking back, I can't think of too many intrusive thoughts that I've had, thankfully. But I guess I'll have to see on that. I have to think hard on that one, as to because I've had a couple of good days. I have had a couple of good days, and as I said previously, a good day is a solid 6 out of 10. Yeah, that's a good day. That's a really good day. A solid 6 out of 10 is nice. I don't mind a 6 out of 10 at all. It's much better than having a 2 out of 10. So yeah, that is my appointment 4. So not a massive amount, because we kind of delved into those activities a little bit more. So not a huge amount goes into that appointment. It was only 30 minutes. But I think now is where we're starting to get into the nitty-gritty things of, like, now I'm going to be starting planning my weeks, planning what I'm doing. And I think my next appointment is going to be planning those activities out, putting them in days, working them in around work, and seeing when I can do these things and what I'm supposed to be doing. So yeah, I'm confident that breaking these things down will help me out a lot. And I'm hoping that it does mean that I can get a few things done that I've been putting off, that I've been struggling with the motivation for. And I'm hoping as well that these videos help somebody out there. So if these videos are helping you, please do comment down below. Please do talk to me. It means so much to me to hear something in the comments of somebody who's going through similar, who is watching my videos and getting some form of advice or help or feeling of connection from them. I really hope that they do help. And yeah, if I can't use my experiences for good, then what's the point in having them? Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Please do take care, stay safe, look after yourselves, and I will see you next time.